Some battles are too epic to stay on the page, and Kaladin vs. Szeth easily ranks in my top 10 showdowns. Hi, I'm MJ Loren, and welcome to another Mithartis Cinematic review. Today, I'm diving into the Clashing Storms statue straight out of the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I'll break down the sculpt, the paint job, and engineering, and compare it with similar products in its price tier, so you can decide if this is the grail piece for your Cosmere collection, or a $350 accident just waiting to happen. Now, I have a confession to make. While I'm a huge Stormlight Archive fan, I don't collect many books because Costa Rica's humidity transforms them into allergy-inducing mold traps. So instead, I've spent the last 26 years building a figure and statue collection of the franchises I love, starting with my first Dragon Ball figure back in 5th grade. When I saw this statue as part of the Stormlight Miniatures campaign on Kickstarter, I knew I had to get it. By the way, if you haven't seen the minis and the painted figurines review, check the links below. But unlike these smaller collectibles, this statue costs $350, putting it in a whole different league. For context, this is heavy. This Ava 01 bust from Prime 1 Studios is actually $1 cheaper at $349. Both of these are made of high quality resin and weigh as much as Dalinar's conscience. So it'll be interesting to see how they compare at the same price point. Now, if you're thinking, wow, MJ, you must be loaded. Trust me, I'm not. I'm just irresponsible. On that note, a quick disclaimer. I bought these statues with my own money, and neither Dragonsteel, Brotherwise Games, nor Prime 1 had anything to do with this review. Also, this video contains spoilers for Words of Radiance, but let's be real, if you're here, you've probably read it, and if not, what are you waiting for? With that said, let's unleash these bad boys, and as Ken Watanabe would say, let them fight. Look at this thing, it's so huge. Let's see if I can open this without changing the frame. Okay, here are the instructions. Now, looking at those pictures, they could be better. Let's take these out. These are heavy. Put this out of the way. That's enough of the box. I mean, unless you're a cat, you won't care much about it. Now, what I was afraid most of was the weapons, because they are very frail, especially that spear. But as I'm seeing that, they did a really good job at preserving it and putting supports beneath also so it wouldn't snap against the packaging itself. And he looks to be in one piece, so that's good. And it was a long way to Costa Rica, and I would not want to pay the shipping back. Okay, so this is Szeth again. The sword seems to be in one piece. Good, good, good. Let's see. What the? Oh, come on. Well, we have the first victim. It's not broken. I'll see this in a second. These are the bases. They're pure resin. They look like white jade. It's shaded in the grooves to give it this wispy, cloudy look. And they both have two magnets that lock with these parts on the characters to hold them in place. But let's just say that that's a little bit of a nightmare, and I'll circle back to that in a bit. Here on the bottom, they just have the copyright, and that is a missed opportunity because this right here, the bottoms of the bases for these types of products, statues, they're like a book cover where you have the studio name, the logo of the license or artwork, the title of the piece itself, and the edition number. This Ava 01 from Prime 1 Studios is a limited edition. What number did I get? This is number 21 of 400. That's another thing to point out. This statue of the Clashing Storms is not limited edition. So you have to factor that also into the price. Okay, so let's check Szeth. Let's see how bad this damage is. Okay, it's not broken. I think it was just not glued. From the fatality. Okay, so it almost broke there. Okay, so this isn't, it wasn't glued, so I can just like pop it back in. I mean, I can super glue it myself, but I mean, come on, this is unacceptable. Let's judge the sculpt. I really like the pose. It's very dynamic. I love how he's kind of like soaring up to meet Kaladin. There's a lot of expression. I love this hand that's just like this, you know, and very stylized, kind of like the line of the body and the flow of the fabric. He does have a little bit of a neutral expression for being in a battle, but that's kind of like goes with the character with Szeth. I mean, that stone cold glare that he will not hesitate to put you down. The paint job is also pretty decent. The eyes mostly, thankfully they're good. They're well done, because that's where normally paint jobs stumble. And they have nice, like the different flesh tones and the shading with the airbrush. He even has a little hint, I don't know if you can pick it up on camera, but he has like a hint of, what do you call that? 5 o'clock shade? Yeah. On the scalp. The only parts where I do feel it kind of like stumbles is the blade. The honor blade is completely flat. I mean, it's just like silver, metallic silver. And the belt is just flat brown. So yeah, they could have shaded that as how they shaded the rest of the cloth. Another thing that I am noticing, that there is some detail loss. For example, here on the feet, you can see that these lines are barely legible. And I would accept this on the minis, but at 1/10 scale and at this price point, no. Yeah, they should do a better job at getting higher detail from those lines. Another part where you can see that is here, the buttons on the shirt. They are so flush against what would be the fabric that they look like they're only painted on instead of sculpted. So that's something that could be improved. Okay, but overall, pretty cool. Now, this is my biggest disappointment is in terms of engineering. He just has these two aligned here, and damn it. Okay, come on. Okay, come on, dude. Come on. There you go. Stay there. That's all that's holding him up. You see this? Wobbliness. I mean, you even look at him wrong and he will fall. So putting this up high on a bookshelf is like, no, that won't do. So unfortunately, if you get the statue, you're gonna have to get these. This is heavy duty poster tack and museum wax. You can use one or the other. This is stronger. You just knead this into tiny little balls and you put it in the surface that needs to get stuck together, and it will do a good job holding it in place. I actually use that in most of my figures because we have earthquakes in Costa Rica and I don't want all these guys falling down. I searched on Reddit and I saw that this isn't just a problem with mine. This is actually a common issue. The two magnets don't align perfectly. It's only like one, like making a good contact at the given time. So I'll probably adapt the piece and put a pin. So let's see Kaladin. Okay, so, oh, Captain, my Captain. Okay, in this duel, I have to admit that in terms of production quality, Szeth won. I do like the dynamic pose where he's bearing down on Szeth with his Sil Spear here, like the flowing hair and the cloth and everything. What I do find is that the gaps in the assembly of the pieces are pretty evident on Kaladin, especially this one on the face. Now this is a cardinal sin right here. It's hard to see on camera. They kind of like carved a seam line, making room for the bangs, and so now he has like a line right here along the side of the face, and that's a no-no. You never put seam lines across the face because that's of course where the eye is going to go first. Let me show you how it should be done. So let me put this down for a sec. Okay, so this is Luke Skywalker from Hot Toys. Of course, this is made out of plastic. It's not resin, so I mean, yeah, I can't judge it on the same. But I want to show you the principle. I'm going to take off his hair, and as you can see, the whole sculpt is complete. There's no cuts into the side of his face to fit any bangs or anything. This is molded and also is like a complete thing, you know, and it just pops on top. And that's pretty much how it should have been assembled with Kaladin. But unfortunately, they didn't go down that route, and it affects the most important part of the whole sculpt, which is the face. I mean, your eyes will definitely go there first, okay? Again, I'm gonna sound very nitpicky by saying this, but you will notice it in hand. The paint job is, it's worse than Szeth's. Okay, so they do have this airbrush shading all over the long coat and the clothes. And they have hints of shading on the face. Not done so well as Szeth's. The deal is that that kind of like shows where they didn't do shading. For example, this trim on the coat that is just pure white. And that kind of like kills the illusion because you're pretty much just painting like in a very cartoonish style where you're just filling in the lines and with no regard to lighting. And another thing is that I see that they didn't do such a good job at like staying within the lines. It's ironic because they did a better job in the painted figurine that is like this big. Let's see if he has a better fit. Okay, yeah, he fits better than, he wobbles less than Szeth, but again, this isn't safe. I would never display a figure like that where that is the only point of contact holding it together. So it's time for these two to meet. And so let's see how this battle unfolds under the macro lens.
You're wrong about me. I'm not new to this. You only just acquired your abilities. No. The wind is mine. The sky is mine. They have been mine since childhood. You are the trespasser here, not me!
Man, I love that scene. And this statue does a great job of bringing it to life on your bookshelf. As for dimensions, Kaladin and his base stands 12 inches tall with a width and depth of 5 inches. Szeth, on the other hand, is 7 inches tall with a width of 8 inches and a depth of 5 inches. Both fit on a standard bookshelf and can double as bookends, though with the whole Magnet Debacle, I wouldn't recommend it. Despite all my nitpicking, this is an awesome piece, and besides the engineering problems, the rest of the shortcomings are only noticeable up close and personal. Although, it's a shame that it couldn't reach its true potential. If it costed less, I'd be more lenient, but at $350, I can't let it slide. You might think it's unfair to compare this with a Prime 1 statue, but keep in mind that they produced only 400 of those Ava busts, compared to at least 4,000 of these. And the other one was actually limited edition. So when you factor in the economy of scale, the Clashing Storm statue was likely cheaper to produce, and the Ava bust even has lighting effects. So what does it really come down to? Skill and experience. I bet the folks at Leia International, the manufacturers, are great, but based on their website, their main focus is on toys, miniatures, and board games, not statues like these. Prime 1, on the other hand, is a high-end studio dedicated to creating this type of product, and that experience clearly shines through. So, why did I buy this? I believe in what Brandon Sanderson is building. I love that authors are creating their own merchandise, allowing books to have unique collectibles without waiting decades, if ever, for a licensing deal to appear. I cherish how our community of passionate readers can support these bold endeavors and make them a reality. And my hope is that one day this won't be just an exception within the literary industry, but actually the norm. The other reason why I bought this is not as a fan, but as an author. I'm currently writing my own epic fantasy series, and I'll share more details with you soon. But all I can say is, it's awesome. Having this on my desk is a source of inspiration to reach that goal. Because when I eventually publish my novels, this is exactly the type of merchandise that I dream of making. Figures and statues. I hope that one day that display cabinet behind me is filled with characters from my own worlds and novels, and that I get to share that process with you, working with talented artists and making behind the scenes videos of the entire journey. That's the whole reason behind Mithartis. And this piece is a constant reminder to always take the next step. Because as Dalinar said, that's the most important one to take. But that's just me. Should you get it? That's subjective. Do you have the space, the spheres? Are you die-hard Stormlight Archive fan looking for a grail piece for your bookshelf? Or do you mainly collect books and find yourself torn between this and a leather bound? Will you need to cover shipping outside of the US because these are heavy? These are all important factors you have to weigh for yourself. Now onto my wish list and recommendations. Dear Dragonsteel and Brotherwise, I hope you don't hate me for my feedback, and I genuinely encourage you to create more of these statues. Hoyd, Vin, and Kelsier would be fantastic additions to flesh out a full Cosmere line. Just please collaborate with specialized statue studios in the future and stick to the 1/10 scale so they'll display beautifully together. For my next video, I'll be reviewing the Cosmere RPG mechanics from an author's perspective. So if you don't want to miss out on this and more epic content, like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're looking for a cheaper way to decorate your bookshelf, check out my review of the Stormlight minis and painted figurines in the suggested videos. Thank you for watching. I'm MJ Loren, and this was Mithartis.